Welcome back to Josh's Real Estate Thoughts. And this week we're going to talk a little bit about a housing bubble. So this has been a question that's been on a lot of people's mind. 2008 through 2012 is still very vivid in many people's minds. So let's go ahead and talk about this, and I'll give you the 3 reasons why we are not in a housing bubble. Number 1, there's a very limited amount of houses on the market. So real estate is simple economics. It is, if you have a very low supply of something and the demand is very high, then the prices are going to increase. And just the opposite, if the demand is really, really low and there's a high supply, then the prices are going to come down. Right now, we have a very, very limited supply of inventory. So the way that we measure that is by months of inventory. So a normal market is going to have about 6 months of inventory on the market. A buyer's market is going to have above that, and a seller's market is going to have below that. So if we go back in time a little bit, back to 2006 to 2008, the amount of inventory that was actually on the market for most of those months in that time span was above 7 months of inventory, yet the prices continued to go up. There was inflation on something that really wasn't real. But now if we look at the timeline that we're in right now, over the last 3 years, almost all of those months have been under 2 months of inventory. In fact, in Western Washington, primarily King, Thurston, and Pierce counties, we just hit an all-time low of just above 2 weeks of inventory. And that is the thing that is actually driving these prices to really, really high points. The nation as a whole is also looking at the same thing. We're in a very seller's market with limited inventory and a very high demand, causing those prices to go up. Number 2 is the demand in this market is real. Back in 2004, 2005, 2006, what happened was there was a frenzy that was created, and it was actually labeled irrational exuberance. And so basically what that meant is that people were buying on a frenzy standpoint, not based on merit of prior market trends, but basically just saying in their minds that this is real estate and it's going to continue to grow. This created this frenzy, coupled with the mortgage industry that was just giving out loans basically to anybody that had a pulse at the time. So therefore, we had a frenzy that was not on a foundation of anything that was positive other than a psychological factors of moving forward into something because everybody else was. 2 big things of why this current real estate market is real, this demand is real, is first, we have millennials, the largest population right now that are at marrying and childbearing age. And so therefore they are out looking for homes, growing families, and we have to take that huge population into consideration when looking at the supply and demand of the real estate market. The second part is the coronavirus. The virus really made us look differently at what we call home. Many people are now working from home, so therefore there's a high demand from moving out of the cities and having a little bit more space, having that home office, having that yard for the kids to run around in, for Fido to play in. And so there's a big change in the way that we actually look at the home, and that's causing some of this real demand in this current market. And number 3 is that homeowners have real equity in their house in this market. So back in the early 2000s, when people were buying homes at a dizzying pace, what they were doing is, with the equity that they were gaining, they were using their homes many times as an ATM machine. They were buying cars, buying boats, going on extravagant vacations. And so there was no equity left in their home when the crash came. However, today, 56% of all Americans have at least 50% equity in their home. And 90% of Americans have enough equity in their house to sell their home and be free and clear. So therefore, we're in a great spot if somebody comes into something in their life that is not predicted and is not on the good side, where they would be able to actually sell their home if they were no longer able to make the payments on their home and still be free and clear. So the bottom line is, there are historic lows right now in inventory. The demand is real, and Americans have a lot of equity in their home. So if there was a dip in those prices, they would be able to weather the storm. So we are not currently in or moving towards a bubble like we did in the early 2000s.